So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of Is It That Bad, where we talk about an album. And this could be an album that when it came out, it could have gotten bad reviews or maybe mixed reviews, or we want to listen to it years later and determine, like, is it that bad? So, for this episode, we're joined again by almost series regular JC Rock and Metal Reviews. JC, how are you?
Doing good, thanks.
And again, we're joined by Chili from Live Listen Erase. Chili, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Staying spicy.
Show again.
Yeah, and today we're gonna go way back into 1993, and we're gonna talk about this album. And this is the original cover, because at first they were called Green Jello, but they had to change the name to Green Jelly because actually the Jello company sued them because of the name. So interesting fun fact. So yeah, Green Jelly, Serial Killer soundtrack. And I'm sure if someone remembers this album, it's just going to be because of one song. And I think JC and me, it's the Three Little Pigs song, which was huge on MTV. If you ever saw on TV, that music video was huge. It was a music video with clay animation. I think it came before that Tool animation video. And another interesting fact, Maynard James Keenan from Tool actually has some backing vocals on that Three Little Pigs song, if you didn't know that. See, JC is like, oh, you're doing some history. Just a little bit of facts from the album. So you know the drill, three rounds. First, we're going to talk about the first impressions when we heard this. Then we're going to pick the three worst tracks on round two. And on the final round, we'll say final thoughts and rating of thumbs up on thumbs down. So let's start today. Let's start with Chili today for this one. Chili, your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so the first time I ever heard about Green Jello, or Jelly, as they would probably be known now, was actually when you sent me a message. Hey, do you want to be on this episode of Green Jelly? And at first, I thought I was being punked because who names a band Green Jelly? And then, second up, I'm looking up the band name, and of course they got umlauts over the bloody U, the Y, because why not? Every band needs umlauts. And I just didn't even know what to bloody expect with this. So the first time I heard this album was only about 3 or so weeks ago, and not that good, to be honest. I was first playthrough. I'm going through it, going, what the bloody hell is going on here? Because it's kind of like chaos mashed into this record. But like you said, there are some guest vocalists and stuff like that on there with Maynard James Keenan. But there's also like Les Claypool doing the guest vocals of the Three Little Pigs. And according to Wikipedia as well, Danny Carey also does the drumming on this album, or various songs on this album. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting. You got a band here with an interesting sound, with a bunch of guest musicians who are very well known. This should really be a good sounding album. And then when I go into it, I just it was nothing like I was expecting it, I guess, So that's both in a good and a bad way. Yeah, this kind of hardcore edge to it, and then there's that comedy aspect to it as well. So first playthrough, not too good, but I'll talk about subsequent listens obviously later on in the episode.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I sent him a message. He's like, Green who? And I'm like, you're too young, Chili. But I knew JC was going to know. We're old school. So JC, I'm guessing you heard this when it came out like me. Did you?
Yeah. This came out when I was in my last year of college. I was about like 22 or 23. So I was a perfect age. The first time I saw Three Little Pigs was when it premiered on MTV. I think it was Headbangers Ball. It was like at 11 o'clock at night. I was just in the house with my friends, and we're hanging out, and we're like really high. We're smoking a lot of weed, and so we're watching this Three Little Pigs video, and it was just kind of crazy. And I've always like loved that song because it's simple, but it's just like this funny story. They're taking this, the Three Little Pigs, the classic story. So I like this song. I went out and this album I actually never bought this album because when this came out, it was a VHS tape, and it was basically every song had its own music video. So all these different songs like Obey the Cow God and Rock and Roll Pumpkin and all these songs, they had like a different story. And Serial Killer is about like these characters like the Snap Crackle Pop, and from the cereal boxes, the like somebody's like killing all of them. So I think it's really targeted for that like young 20 something who like smokes weed and just to hang out with your friends, that kind of thing. So but when this album came out, like I never bought the album, but I think I'll talk more about it later. As far as like how well it aged, I think it was more of like a novelty thing at that time. And it's also not something that I've gone back to a lot. And they even like they released an album, I think it was 2 years ago, and I think I did a review on my channel, but it's not one of these bands I like go back to often. But at the time, I enjoyed it when it came out. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
like JC, I did listen to it, but I actually bought it. But I think I bought the one that says Green Jelly when it came out because they had to re-release it because of the lawsuit that obviously the yellow they didn't want to be associated with this band. So when you look on Wikipedia, they're put as like a comedy rock with punk rock. I'm like, yeah, it's an album that just take a look at the album cover. You can't take this shit seriously. There's a shit. There's a cow. There's pigs. You can't take this. Like, no one will look at this album cover and say, yes, this is a serious fucking record. No one will say that. But yeah, when I first listened to it, I was actually in high school. I graduated from high school in 1996. So I don't know what grade it is, but I remember watching that Three Little Pigs and thinking with my friends like, oh, this is fucking awesome. It's Clay. And plus you had Rambo kill the wolf. It's like, I'm your worst nightmare. I'm like, ooh, cool, Rambo. And obviously we were probably all like trying to get drink and just listening to this because it has some really interesting things. Another interesting fact that I read, the song Electric Harley House of Love had a Metallica riff in, like, I don't know if it was from Enter Sandman some part, and they had to edit that out. I imagine Metallica sent them a cease and desist letter signed by Lars Ulrich. I'm sure that
can be found on Napster.
He's like, please do not put our riff in this song. But yeah, at the time when it came out, I was young. It had potty humor. It has so I thought it was awesome when I was how old in 1993? I was like 15 to 16. I was at that age, so the maturity wasn't right there. I'm still maturing, people, but I was less mature back then. So yeah, when it came out, I just thought it was a fun record to not like overanalyze or take seriously. So that was my initial impression back in 1993. So now we're going to round two, and we're going to talk about tracks that are bad. So Chili, what 3 tracks do you pick from this album?
Well, actually, first I just want to pull you up when you said that Metallica told them to stop on the Electric Harley. The riff there, I find it ironic they say that when they rip off so many other artists' riffs. They use the solos to Saxon, one of Saxon's songs in off the Kill 'Em All album, you know, and there's plenty more out there. You can check TikTok for all the ones they rip off. So I just find that quite funny that they said, no, don't use our riff.
Yeah, I don't know if that happened. I'm speculating that happened.
Yeah, it's interesting either way. The good songs. Let's see. I mean, I wrote a few notes here, but Obey the Cow God, the opening track there. I think this is a pretty cool track, you know, and it's funny because like it begins with that "Are you ready?" and all I can think of is the "Aye aye Captain SpongeBob" theme. Everyone, yeah, that's just my age gap. I think when it comes to this record, you know, maybe it was a prediction for the future. Maybe they actually wrote the SpongeBob theme song. Who knows? But anyway, I thought Obey the Cow God is a pretty interesting track for there. Obviously, the big song, Three Little Pigs. I liked it musically. It's a bit, you know, the lyrics behind it all. Yeah, it's a fairy tale, and I guess like you're saying, I haven't watched the video clip to it, and I'm sure it was funny, you know, when you watch it, and I'm sure I'd have a laugh looking at it.
You never watched the video?
I haven't watched the video clip.
Dude, you need to watch the video. Dude.
I'll do a reaction video to it. Yeah. I guess it's like, you know, comparing, say, again, this is my age gap here, but Tenacious D when they did the song Tribute, because obviously they're a comedy act, you know, and Tribute was a really good video clip that accompanied the song, and that was actually a really good song too. You know, it's cool they got that kind of AC/DC Thunderstruck opening almost, you know, that before it veers off and goes into other territories, but yeah. Again, this is a song, it's very weird, like Les Claypool, who obviously sings on this, is very much along his lines. So I don't know how much influence he had writing this song, maybe a bit more than we are led to believe. But Les Claypool's one of those artists I find hard to get into, you know, outside of his singles anyway. So for me, Three Little Pigs, it's a good track. And yeah, there's another one here I just wrote. It's odd that the line they called about calling 9/11, and it's like, ooh, okay, that's interesting with hindsight in mind.
Yeah, I noticed that as well when they say, oh, instead of, because we in the US we usually say we call 911, but
Correct.
They say we call 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, this is like, yeah, if you're a conspiracy theorist, oh my god, people are telling you Green Jelly were on it, they were behind it, they were behind this whole thing.
Which song was that, man? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's a line in it where he just goes, "Oh, we'll call 9/11 instead of saying we'll call 911." And I'm like,
it's towards the end, like when, like I think before Rambo comes in.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my god, remember the conspiracy theorists jumped in and gone, Green Jelly were the one putting thermite on beams in the World Trade Center. The other one, I guess, would probably be Anarchy in the UK, because it's Anarchy in the UK. And it's interesting the way that they work it, because they reword it as like a Fred Flintstone's theme song on crack, because it's Anarchy in the UK. It's still better than Megadeth's version. Fight me.
Those are strong words, my friend. So those are your free tracks. So what about you, JC?
It's hard to pick. I mean, I like Three Little Pigs, but like the rest of them, they're all. One thing I noticed, like listening to this, is that a lot of these songs are kind of very derivative of like other bands. So, for example, I'll pick like "Obey the Cow God." It's basically like Motorhead's Ace of Spades. They took that riff and they just kind of went with it and almost like changed the words around. Then there's all these other like songs go through these different like genres. Rock and Roll Pumpkin is just like a Ramones type of song that's kind of like punk rock. So those ones, and
Electric Harley, it also had that Barracuda riff throughout it.
Electric Harley. I kind of like thought that was more like an AC/DC type of song, but yeah, it's like a classic rock type of song. And that one, Trippin' on XTC, it's just a complete like copy of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's just
you thought I thought Mr. Bungle.
Oh, okay. I heard Red Hot Chili Peppers on that song, but I guess everyone has different.
Yeah, I can't believe no one has picked a song that I'm going to pick.
Okay, what?
So House Me Teenage Rave.
No.
That song is like, read me teach, babe. Read me teach, babe. Let me be inside you, my teenage rave. And then there's like, oh, show me Mr. Monkey. I want to play with the monkey. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like listening to this at 46 years old, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just so wrong. it's so non-sexy. And it's like a rave, and there's like teenage rave, and then there's a part where he's like, I want to see Mr. Snakey. Where is Mr. Snakey? I'm like, oh my God. When I listened to this as a young, I wasn't, I didn't know. I was so young that I didn't know what he was referring to of Mr. Snakey. I'm like, I'm pretty sure now I know what Mr. Snakey is, and I don't want to meet him. So that song is just atrociously bad, and it's like the word cringe comes to mind. It's so cringy, and of course, like no one has said the misadventures of Shit Man.
That's
Song,
on my worst tracks. Yeah, they're on my
Yeah.
worst tracks.
yeah, I don't know if you guys thought, but when I was listening to that track, I thought of Mr. Hanky, the pooh from South Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this song, Green Jelly was in the future. They predicted seriously, and they predicted the poop from
Yeah.
from South Park. So that song is just a song about wanting to shit.
Maybe they were the inspiration behind Mr. Hanky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's cringy, and I would like to go back in time and ask the Hector of 15-year-old what he thought of this track.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't think right now, and I think Anarchy in the UK with all the like Flintstone stuff is very it's kind of lame and corny. So yeah, that would be my third pick. So yeah, so we've all picked songs. Now we go to the final final thoughts and a vote on it. So Chili, your final thoughts on this one?
I just want to quickly round back up to the Teenage Rave song, because I had to make a note. That is a terrible song, of course, but it also sounded a lot like Tism, which is an Australian band. I don't think any of you guys might know of them.
No.
Which stands for This Is Serious Mum. They were famous for a song called Greg, the Stop Sign. And they went on a 20-year hiatus. And when they came back, they did an announcement and said, it's the best thing we could do for the music industry was to go on a 20-year hiatus. And this House of Teenage Rave just reminds me of Tism. It's that style, but much funnier. Tism actually do it in a funny way. But also, it kind of, that song reminded me of like an elongated Bloodhound Gang skit, you know, and it just goes for too long. It's terrible, that song.
I enjoy the Bad Touch better than that song. But that song is weird. So Chili, if thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways.
Okay. It's as I said at the beginning of this, like I revisited the album and it kind of got a little bit better, only in the musical aspect. You know, it's a bit hard to be a comedy band, especially when you're playing these types of genres. You're on a double-edged sword trying to balance the act out, because comedy rock becomes stale at one point. You know, it doesn't matter what. And another artist, especially at this time, I would like to point out is Dennis Leary.
Leary.
I'm an asshole. Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, you had that song. What have you done since? Nothing. You know,
he did a great movie called Judgment Night in the 90s,
okay,
where he played an evil as fuck character.
But other, you know, like there's other comedy rock acts who have survived for much longer, like Weird Al Yankovic, but he changes his style a lot, and he also covers music, so that's a little bit different. But then you got other acts like Steel Panther. It depends if that's your type of.
God, they suck.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
Only their early stuff.
Steel Panther.
That's what I mean. So it's like, if you're going to recommend a comedy group like this one to me, Hector, it's you're trying to balance it by saying, do you like this kind of comedy? Do you? You know, and it's a bit of a catch-22 also with the music as well. For me, it's a thumbs down. I wasn't there at the time. I don't enjoy the comedy on it. It sucks. It's very dated. The music isn't too bad though for some of the tracks. But yeah, it's very much a yeah, I'm not coming back to this album. Sorry, Green Jelly.
So no Snakey for you.
No Snakey, no, you can keep the hanky.
What about you, JC?
I'm gonna say, I think the album, as in the music, the CD, I'm gonna give a thumbs down, just because it just doesn't age well, and I think this music doesn't really translate as well because, like I was saying before, it was originally released as a VHS tape or like a short movie with all these short little video clips. So I think these are all on YouTube. You could probably look them up. If you watch it along with the videos, they kind of like are a little more entertaining when you see all these characters in these like weird like costumes running around. It's a little more entertaining, but listening to it like on a CD or just the music itself, I think it just didn't really age well, and I don't think the music is good enough to stand alone on its own. I think it needs that like video with it, the way it was originally meant to be. So
Okay.
so for that reason, like if it was the VHS tape, I would say thumbs up. But since it's just the CD and the soundtrack, I say thumbs down. If that makes any sense. Like,
And
No,
be
that
honest,
makes sense.
JC, you were also missing the weed.
Greening out
I'm
to
like,
Green
I'm like,
Jelly.
if you had the weed, this would have been the best album ever.
yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, yeah.
I'll take Tenacious D.
You have to like go back and go back in time and talk to 22-year-old JC. I'm like, 22-year-old JC, what do you think? Dude, this is great.
Best thing since Pink Floyd.
So to me, this is an interesting album because it's it's bad. Just by watching the album cover, it's bad. But it's those movies and stuff that it's so bad that it's good. It's like Police Academy. It's bad, but you see it even though it's bad as hell. This is that album for me. It's bad, but I gotta say this: Three Little Pigs is still awesome. And Chile, you cannot listen to that song without watching the music video. When you watch the music video, like the whole song like turns alive. So yeah, you need to experience the music video to enjoy it. But other than that track, when I was listening to it, the Teenage Rape, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, and thinking I used to like this, and I'm like, why? So yeah, it's an enthusiastic thumbs down. It's like it's bad, but it's like a guilty pleasure. It's shit, but it's entertaining shit, like Police Academy. I'm sorry, someone's gonna be like, "How dare you insult the best movies about police in the world?" So yeah, people, that's Green Jelly, Serial Killer soundtrack. We've thrown it in the trash. But I think everyone is an enthusiastic we've never been so enthusiastic about a bad album, I think, before on this channel. It's like, we know it's bad, but we don't hate it. It's kind of endearing how bad it is, in a way. So yeah, it's kind of those like, yes, it's so bad, but like Weekend at Bernie's. I'll watch it if it's on TV if I'm bored. So something like that. So we want to know from you guys, what do you think of Green Jelly or Jello with Serial Killer soundtrack? Do you even remember this band? And if not, why do you think Three Little Pigs rule? So let us know your comments on that, and everyone write to Chile and tell him you need to see that music video, man. So
reaction coming up.
Yeah, you need to see the video. So, people, please, you can subscribe to my guest, Live Listen Erase. You know, his channel is pretty cool. He's up in the 500 something. You're nearly 600, right, man?
Too shy from 600 at the moment.
Shai, come on, do it for the pigs. So get him to 600, and he's got some great. He reviews some like unknown bands too, but he also does reviews of known bands, and he does the Live Listen Erase, which is pretty cool. Like show that I've been on, and it's pretty cool to do. We need to do one in the future with JC too, because it's super fun. And obviously, JC is nearing the 2000. 2000, like JC is rocking and rolling it. You know, every time you watch a video, it's like, where is JC now? Is he in the moon? Is he in the desert? Is he drinking with? Is he drinking with Keith Richards? We don't know, but like you don't know, because he's putting a lot of stuff into his reviews, and he talks about, classic albums, but he talks about all type of genres, and he gives you history. So it's pretty entertaining. So dropping us up, and if you watch me, I'm like 39. I'm so close to 1,000K. So please, people, share it with other people, subscribe, so I can get to 1,000 in the watch hours, so I can get paid and maybe get a nicer couch. For the videos. Yeah, for now, my couch is not that nice because I have kids, and you know what? They throw shit on it. So I can't have nice things. So they do that stuff. Every parent will know that. Approach. Yeah, every parent will know that. And coming up next for us, we're going to review an album by Machine Head, Burn My Eyes, their debut from 1994. So be on the lookout for that next week. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and we'll see you on another episode of Is It That Bad? Thank you, and good night.